Welcome, you're watching World Talks and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. Today marks 176 years since the death of Poland's greatest composer, Frédéric Chopin, a musical genius whose legacy continues to inspire pianists worldwide. Yesterday, Polish pianist Piotr Alexewicz has become the only representative of Poland to reach the finals of the 19th International Frédéric Chopin Piano Competition. He joins 10 other finalists from 7 countries, including 3 pianists from China, 2 from Japan, 2 from the United States, 1 from Georgia, Canada, and Malaysia. The final round begins on Saturday and will determine who takes home the gold medal and 60,000 euros on October 20th. Joining me now in the studio is Julia Łozowska, professional pianist who took part in the last edition of the Chopin Piano Competition. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolute pleasure. So let's start from the very beginning. What is usually the motivation for a pianist like yourself to take part in this competition, and what's the phenomenon? Why is it important?
I feel like this competition in particular is special because everyone dreams of taking part in such a competition, especially we as Polish pianists, but also everyone around the world. The history of the competition, that it's 100 years old, that you can actually sustain a career after winning such a competition. I think this is what motivates us, but also just love for Chopin's music and his works.
And why do you think Chopin was such a particular composer? From your perspective, obviously throughout your career you play different composers, you have different programs that you need to focus on, there are different techniques, but why is Chopin so popular, and this competition here in the heart of Warsaw connects together so many people across the globe?
Well, he's for sure the greatest of Polish composers, but the phenomenon, as you said before, is also based on the fact that the competition is only based on Chopin's compositions. And to be able to actually dive into one composer's works is very difficult.
Why so?
It requires us to actually read a lot about his life and to understand deeply how he composed, how he lived, what he went through during his life. It's important to know the history of his life, how he immigrated, what happened in his personal life as well. So it's all important. And also knowing, for example, Polish dances, how to transform that into his pieces. It all requires us to have this background, to have this knowledge and to prepare, and then also added technique and our own interpretation is what we require to.
You mentioned learning and reading and understanding his life, so the emotional structure behind his creations. Is it difficult to understand Chopin? Is this a challenge of its own to be able to interpret his music while maintaining your own style?
I feel that this is something that we have to do in every composition, not only Chopin, but he shows who we are as people. I feel it's very interesting when I listen to other people performing Chopin. I can sort of tell what kind of people they are, their character. It shows your strengths. It's very difficult because of that, because you have to sort of show all of that on stage, and it becomes this intimate act of becoming one with the composer on stage for the public.
So you mentioned it's the showcase of strength. Does it showcase the weaknesses as well?
I think so. Yes, of course. There's always 2 sides of that, but let's focus on the.
Let's focus on the positives. So tell me, how does a competition look like? If you could, we would like to take a peek behind the curtain and see how it looks from a perspective of a person that took part in the competition.
Yes, so first of all, we have to prepare for quite a long time. We have to prepare all the compositions. Usually this takes, let's say, around a year minimum, but to be honest, we build the repertoire over the years. And then we have to apply, and each edition, the requirements are a bit more difficult because so many people are interested in the competition. So, for example, this year's edition required making a video in one take for half an hour with exact pieces that should be recorded. And then it had to be sent with 2 recommendations from great professors from our field. And then when we submitted it, we got the information after some time after they reviewed it, if we got it or not. And then is the stage of preliminaries that happens in April, May, and around 160 pianists pass to that. We have to perform etudes, a big form such as scherzo, mazurka. Every edition there's a little bit different, but it's happening in the smaller hall, in the chamber hall of the Philharmonic Hall. And then there's the results of half of the people passing to the main competition. And then every stage is longer and also requires more strength.
There's obviously the program, there is Chopin himself, there is the competition, there is a lengthy process that has to take place before a pianist is ready to join everybody else on stage and perform. How does one build a mental stamina? Because performance is not only about feeling music and showcasing it, but having the mental strength to be able to not only go through the different stages of the competition, but sometimes having to take rejection on board.
Yes, actually we have to be able to take a lot of rejection in our lives as classical musicians, and I think this builds the mental strength, as you mentioned, but also performing in front of our friends, family, playing the repertoire, also recording ourselves. It all helps us to sort of go into that mode of performance mode, but also just being okay with yourself, that once you go out on a stage, it doesn't have to be perfect, and being okay with that makes it easier to perform, because we're only human.
And when you look at different contestants, obviously there are different stages that take place over a period of 3 weeks. So this is, at first the preparation is very lengthy, and then you meet all these people from all across the globe. Would you say that some of these relationships do last and you create friendships that you actually embark on this journey of life in your professional career later on while knowing these people?
I think it's not exactly that we meet during the competitions, of course sometimes as well, but usually we know each other before the competition. We go to the same schools, we meet on master classes or other places, and this is when the friendships sort of start. And of course it's great when we can support each other during the competitions.
So it's not really a competition, it's more of a support for other pianists who embark on the same journey as you.
I think so. I mean, I'm very supportive of my friends that are still in the finals now, and I hope they do their best and achieve their best. But I think the friendships start before. It doesn't really happen during the competition, because the competition itself is very, very demanding, energetically and focus-wise, and it's just very difficult to sort of not focus on anything else rather than just practicing and performing.
So you mentioned that some of your friends are still in the running in the competition. So I need to ask you, obviously I'm not going to, we have to uncover this a little bit. I promise I won't tell, but who do you think is your favorite from the people who got into the final round?
Well, so it's always not great to say your favorite ones, but for sure my friends are some of the favorite ones, especially Miyu Shindo. I really admire her style and the way she performs, her musicality, and of course my other friends, Piotr Alexewicz of course, and Kevin Chen. But I support everyone, and being in the finals is already such an achievement, so I'm just happy for them.
It's already a win to many of these pianists. As you look at the competition, as you've taken part in the last edition, then you were in the running for this year's edition. Considering that this is such a mental strain and physical strain, and it requires so much preparation, do you think it's difficult to be back to such a competition after rejection?
It depends what is your motivation. Because if it's just making your dreams come true, then it doesn't matter if they reject you or not. And also, speaking from experience, I was rejected this year, but so many other opportunities happened because of that or in spite of that. At the same time, I will record my first CD. That wouldn't happen if I would be in the competition. Thank you. So everything happens sort of for a reason. I believe that we're exactly where we should be, and it's just everyone has their own path.
How beautifully said. When we look at the competition, and you've obviously taken part in the competition, for those pianists who could be potentially watching us now and dreaming of joining this competition one day and being in your shoes, what would be your advice?
I would say that make sure that it's your own dream and not the society's. But for sure, have fun on stage and really enjoy the moment, because it doesn't happen so often, and of course it's something special to be on that stage during this particular event. And I think that sort of getting to know yourself during the process of getting to know Chopin is the most important, not really how far you come into the competition. I think this is what matters.
And finally, because our time is coming to an end, when we look at classical music and we're looking at modern times, who would you compare Frédéric Chopin to? Because he was obviously a celebrity of his time, but he's also a great celebrity and a great pianist in modern day. Is there any artist that you would compare him to in terms of his stature and in terms of who he was as a person?
My God, such a difficult question, because he wasn't a celebrity, so to say, when it comes to his character. He didn't like the fame so much. Of course, he was thinking highly of himself, but he was sort of introverted. For example, he didn't like performing in very big halls. He preferred chamber halls. So I would compare him maybe to a person that stands firm in his identity, but doesn't, for example, post a lot on social media. I think he wouldn't be this type, to show a lot of his private life.
So a true artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Julia. Julia Łozowska, professional pianist and a pianist who took part in the latest edition of the Chopin competition. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so this would be all for now on World Talks. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska. Thank you so much for joining in. Remember to tune in for the final stage of the Chopin piano competition, and we'll see you there.